right, guys, welcome back to the show again. This is your host, Hunter McWaters. It's great to be with you, and it's great to be in hunting season. I hope you guys are enjoying being out in God's creation and just doing what we spend all year talking and dreaming and thinking about, and getting out there and filling some tags. I know that I'm about to leave. I'm not sure when this will air, but I'm about to leave in about 10 days for my second trip. This will be my first big backcountry hunt of the year, and then won't be long for heading out on the next one after that. So God is good. It's a busy time of year, but I'm so blessed and so happy to be able to do what I love and keep bringing you guys content. And we got some great footage on the first hunt in Wyoming. The antelope were rutting hard, and it was just an awesome time to be out there, and it went down way quicker than I thought. So hopefully you heard that recap episode. If you haven't, go back and check it out, and that's going to be a really cool episode when I eventually get it out to you guys. So anyway, this week I'm kind of continuing the theme. I've been talking to a lot of guys and gals lately in the kind of outdoor TV space. It's something that I'm sort of interested in, given my TV background. And so yeah, this week my guest is Gregg Ritz. Gregg is the host and producer of a show called Huntmasters on Outdoor Channel. He's been doing it for, man, I think that show's in its 13th season or something, but he's been in outdoor TV for a long time. Really accomplished hunter, fellow East Coaster. He lives up in New Hampshire, which is cool. So we talk about that, and we also talk about he's kind of in this going after the North American 29 Slam thing. So we talk about that and Alaska and whole bunch of stuff. It's a great episode. Hope you guys enjoy it. And yeah, if you get a chance, make sure to leave me a rating and a review. Those are still really helpful. If you get a chance and you haven't yet, leave me a review on Apple. Definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel, and stay tuned for some cool stuff that I got in the works for this coming year. As always, keep me and the project in prayer, as I expand and look to grow and expand my platforms and stuff. I always want to remain true to one of my original visions, which was to create content that's enjoyable and informative for everybody, but also to glorify God and to bring the name of Jesus into this space. So I do want to say thank you to him and to all you guys that support me in that, and all glory goes to God, as I continue this season and this journey, and hope you guys are enjoying kind of following along with me as I grow and learn and discover and explore and show that, the opportunities and the adventures are out there. You don't have to wait years to make your dream hunt happen. If you can't afford a guide, that's okay. You can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. So looking forward to everything we got coming down the line. Hope you'll stick around, keep supporting the show and the project and my great partners here. So anyway, without much further ado, I'm going to jump into this week's episode with Gregg Ritz, and I hope you enjoy it and have a great rest of your season. All right, guys. Well, welcome to the show. This is your host, Hunter, and I'm here today with my guest, Gregg Ritz. How you doing, man?
Excellent. Appreciate the invite.
Yeah, man. We were just talking about talking about some of my skulls back here, and I see you got a nice bull back there, a nice mule deer. Is that an aoudad?
Yes. No. So that's a tur from
Okay.
Azerbaijan. Yeah. So in the goat species,
Yeah.
but harvested him in the Caucasus Mountains, right
Oh,
on
wow.
the border of Russia.
Dang. So you were saying you're 6 animals away from a super slam. What exactly is a super slam?
So the North American 29 big game animals. So the bear species, caribou species, the whitetail species, mule deer species, as well as kind of your one-offs, which is your bison, your mountain lion.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 29 in North America, and I really never set out as a goal to do it, but I'm down to polar bear, Rocky Mountain bighorn, Sitka blacktail, which is over your shoulder, bison and
Mm-hmm.
mountain lion. So I'm getting down. I think that's going to be a career goal of mine, just because I'm
Yeah.
close that not many people can say that. And I've shot I think all of them with a muzzleloader.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
Didn't Jim Shockey do that all with the muzzleloader,
he
like
did.
back in the day?
He did. His trophies aren't as big as mine though.
Yeah.
He may be taller than me, but I shoot bigger animals.
Nice. I like it. Talking smack right out the gate.
I know he's a good man. We shared many a camp together. I tell you
That's
what,
cool.
there's no tougher hunter than that man alive. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're like the American Jim Shockey.
I'm the new and improved version, right?
Okay. Sweet, man. Well, that's cool. So do you have any of those species on your list for this year to check off or try to?
So, well, this year I just killed my barren ground caribou last week,
Yeah. Which I
and
want
then
to
I
hear more
have
about.
my Coues whitetail, which will complete all of my whitetail species in Mexico.
Awesome.
So I'll be whittling on that list, and I think now that I'm close, I'll probably try to pick up one or two animals a year. Like a Rocky Mountain Bighorn is probably going to be my toughest to
Yeah.
draw, and it's so expensive anymore to try to purchase a tag.
Yeah.
Is about the price of my house.
Jeez. Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy, man. So I'm also going to be going out to Mexico chasing coos
Oh, great!
with Brian and Ryan. You met Brian at TAC.
I did. Yeah.
I was there too, but I was just around podcasting and I didn't get a chance to meet you. But did you guys have fun shooting together?
Oh, we had a blast. As you know, there's never a bad situation at TAC. You learn so much from being on the mountain, whether it's wind or thermals or sight position,
Mm-hmm.
cloud cover, just the way they set the targets are amazing. And it's kind of, to me, where I make the benchmark. I want to be ready for my Western hunts by TAC, and TAC is the
Yeah.
fire. My bow's done, my arrows are sighted in, everything's qualified because I mean, you're shooting out 100 yards,
Yeah.
120 if you're on the knock-on course.
Yeah. My bow is still like set up for Virginia. Like I don't even because all my Western hunts to this point have been rifle hunts.
Ah,
Um, and so I've kind of been like a little bit intentional about that because I'm just still kind of figuring it out, and such a different style of hunting. So, but I think I should draw Wyoming General Elk Tag next year, which I'm going to try archery,
good for
Lord
you.
willing, if I draw it, and then I'll pick up the rifle if that's not happening. But this year I need to step up my game a little bit and walk out the distance a little bit. I'm pretty good with it out to about 70, but I'm not even set up to go past that.
Yeah. But realistically, unless it's antelope or a unique situation, like I don't ever shoot beyond
Yeah,
50, 60.
yeah.
So, fun fact for you, if you didn't know, I grew up in Maryland.
Oh, okay. What part?
Yep, just northwest of Baltimore,
Okay, all right.
area called Reisterstown. So I grew up hunting all the public land in Maryland, and then on the eastern shore for sika deer, and then
Okay,
you hunt Virginia every year at George Washington National Forest.
that's awesome, man. So that my first ever like public land big game animal was on the Jefferson National Forest. And then that was a funny trip. Actually, on that trip, I shot a hole through the floorboard of my truck with my granddad's old 30-30.
Oh my goodness! I bet you
Yeah.
that got everybody's attention.
Oh yeah. That was a. It's funny now. It was very terrible in the time that it happened. But anyway, we did a podcast about that. It was like my first ever like public land like hunt ever of like any type. So managed to come out of there with a small deer, but that's cool, man. So are you on the East Coast still?
Yeah, so still live in New Hampshire.
Okay.
And it's interesting. As I plan my hunt schedule, we spend so much time out west, obviously adventure hunts and in the Yukon or Alaska or internationally, and I forget about how much great hunting is on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So in a couple weeks, so actually when I get back from New Mexico, my elk hunt, I have a Maine moose hunt, which
Sweet.
is like the coveted tag in the
Yeah. How long
Northeast.
did it take you to draw that?
20 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's the tags keep going down. I don't know
Just
if
habitat
you've heard,
destruction
they've lost
and
probably half the population of
winter
moose
kill.
over the last 5 years. No,
Oh,
you know what
geez.
it is? It's kind of gross. It's the ticks are killing them. Yeah, they ball up by the tens of thousands of them in the winter. So they use the moose, primarily the smaller, weaker, the calf or a cow or something that can't withstand them, and literally bleed them out. And
That's crazy, man.
it
I
is
was on a bear hunt this year in Idaho, and the ticks were so bad it killed one of our pack llamas.
get out.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean,
You've experienced it.
yeah, I mean, honestly, like I hate to even say it, but I mean, like, climate change, like the winters aren't killing off the ticks the way they used to.
Right. And obviously the ticks, like any, species, has adapted.
Yeah.
So the ticks are hardier even when you get a cold freeze. But there's no doubt that the cycle the world is in globally. I mean, we've been through this at least three periods. We've
Yeah.
been through three ice ages, and it warms back up. And whatever period when, for
Right.
whatever reasons, um, definitely is having an impact on wildlife.
For
No
sure,
doubt.
man. So back to the East Coast thing. So you're in New Hampshire. That's cool because I'm sort of in the Western hunting space. I mean, I grew up obviously hunting out here, but kind of when I discovered Western hunting, it really changed my life. So that's kind of where I put most of my focus now. But it's nice to connect with somebody who's East Coast again. So, do you still ever hunt in Maryland? Because my dad has a small place in Talbot County, and he's all into shooting geese, and there's some deer over there, but he's mainly a waterfowl guy.
I haven't been back in years, but I ran into a guy, a funny coincidence, in caribou camp. So we're in our base camp. He was
Uh,
actually there. He and his dad were there for fishing, and he lives on the eastern shore of Maryland, and he does agricultural appraisals.
okay.
So, I had a conversation. His name's Ben, with Ben, saying, "Hey, I need to get back to Maryland and celebrate my roots and remind people how good the hunting is on the East Coast, whether it's New York, Pennsylvania, Virginia,
Oh
and
yeah.
even smaller states, Delaware and New Jersey have a ton of hunters.
Mm-hmm.
They're managing land as well as people are doing in the Midwest.
Yeah.
That the philosophy of let them grow older, balance the doe populations, put the food sources in, um, has definitely now become a nationwide movement.
Yeah. Now I grew up. I got my start hunting on the eastern shore of Virginia, down around Eastville. I don't know if you're familiar if you ever go down that far south, but we first of all, it's the more northern subspecies of whitetail as opposed to on the mainland of Virginia. So the deer's bodies are a little bigger, probably the same as the ones you grew up hunting. But dude, we had some huge deer over there, and at that point, I don't know if it's changed now, but you did not see coyotes. There was like no natural predation. So I mean, it was never a question of are you going to see deer. It was like how many deer are you going to see, and are you going to see the big one? Like there was deer everywhere.
Hmm. So what's it like now?
I don't know. I lost I lost contact with the landowner in college and kind of lost permission. They sold the hunting rights to the farmer and everything, but um, I haven't deer hunted over there in years. I know in Eastern Shore of Maryland, their seasons are a little tight, but there's a lot of deer and pretty good ones.
And I'd say some of the largest deer coming out of Maryland are coming out of Kent County,
Hmm.
right as you go over the Bay Bridge. And I
Okay.
think because it's still bigger chunks of land, agriculturally based,
Yeah.
and as you and I know, it really comes down to the quality of the soil. Good soil equals good whitetails. Now you
Hmm.
have to have age structure, but if you don't have good soil, then you have to have supplemental feeding like Texas does or Kansas does to help balance out the nutritional deficits.
Yeah.
But I mean, so I'm going to start spending more time focusing on the East Coast after this. So each year, this is a moose hunt this year, trying to get a deer and waterfowl hunt in Maryland maybe next year, and
Oh, cool.
just remind people the Midwest does have great whitetail hunting, but it's not the end all and be all for any
Yeah, man, there's definitely great opportunity out here. And I mean, like, you know, talking to these Western guys, you're like, oh man, I hope I get my deer tag this year and whatever. And you can get multiple tags if you really put in the research and the work and you plan multiple years ahead. But like, I just go online and I can buy 6 deer tags in Virginia like anytime I want.
Well, it is, and it is getting tougher out west on the tags. I mean,
Yeah,
one of the guys who works for me, his name's Jake Powers. He's been going to Colorado over the counter tag
yeah,
9 straight years, backpacking in with he and his buddy Aaron. I mean, putting in the work. They've killed some cows and some bears, but they haven't shot any big bulls. But
yeah.
this year he just killed a stomper of a bull.
Nice.
So those opportunities are there. You just have to work a whole lot
For
harder
sure.
to figure out, how to basically hunt around the public.
Yeah. And yeah, it's like I said, it's a multi-year. Like I'm already looking at 2023. I think I'm gonna head to Colorado, Lord willing, if I draw for like for a mule deer hunt in 23. That'll be my first time hunting in Colorado. But it's interesting the kind of like different dynamic between there's like almost like the whitetail world and then there's like the Western thing. And you've done a good job of kind of living in both ecosystems, but it's an interesting dynamic, don't you think?
No doubt. Like just their way that they approach hunting, the lifestyle of the hunting, the a lot of these hardcore Western guys, I mean, they are just as fanatical as us whitetail guys, right?
Yeah.
And maybe they can't manage the land to the extent that we can because we either lease or own parcels or you have a high population of animals in a smaller area.
Yeah.
But if you think of the time they spend living on the mountainside, glassing up these public land animals, it's cool. And then and 90% of the time they're spotting and stalking them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it comes down to a lot of woodsmanship, and that's really what has drawn me to the Western hunts. I love to
Same.
pursue an animal. I like the spending endless hours glassing. I like
Mm-hmm.
spotting, stalking. I like the challenge of that. And now that's not to say in mid-November in the rut, I want to be in a whitetail deer stand.
For
Period.
sure.
End of story. You're not gonna find me anywhere else.
Yeah. No, I always say like I have nothing against deer hunting, like traditional. That's how I grew up. I still love it. But I mean, it just seems like so much more of a complete hunting experience when you're out there and you're literally using your legs and your back and your like your brain and your eyes and you're really like going after these things. Not that ambush style hunting isn't hunting, but I don't know when I see and this is a little bit of a segue into the kind of the TV stuff. I mean, I really like shows like yours where you kind of mix up and you have different Western hunts and stuff like that. There's a lot of outdoor TV that kind of falls into the trap of just a dude sitting in the box over a corn feeder, and it's just like, okay, I'm not ragging on that. Like I've done it before myself. But there's just something that feels so much more of like a complete hunting experience when you just get out there and you're actually hunting them.
No doubt. And really where whitetail hunting's evolved and doesn't make it right or wrong because I participate in it is the use of technology.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got my hunt stand app and I sit here meticulously plot out where are my stands, where are my cameras, where are my access points, where am I finding their sheds, mapping out,
Dude, you
my
guys
food
got down to
plot.
a science.
Right. I mean, and we're any variable we can control.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you take, I'm pretty blessed with connections and land that I own and lease. In the Midwest, I have 10,000 acres to hunt.
Wow.
So, whether it's Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, or Illinois being the bulk of it, but we go in there. If we can control food, we do. We can control access, we do. We can control water, we do. We control habitat, we do. And the technology of my Reconyx cameras, especially cell cameras, I have a live play every day.
That's cool.
So it allows me to play chess with these animals that
Yeah.
you don't get that out west. And a lot of states out west, Utah being the most recent,
Mm-hmm.
said, hey, guys, come hunting season, trail cameras got to be pulled. You're on your own. And there's a lot of controversy about that. I like the purity of knowing it's one-on-one. You got to find them, dig them up,
Yeah.
and you don't have that hope certificate of, oh, I got a picture, he's alive.
Yeah. Yeah. For
You know,
sure, man.
so you're right. But you take all those experiences together. I think it does make you a more complete hunter, no doubt.
Yeah. So that's cool. So I'm interested. Okay, your show is what, 13 or 14 seasons? You're filming the 14th season this year?
So in the format of Huntmaster. So I've actually been doing television for 26 years.
Okay.
Yep.
So talk to
off
me
when I was at Thompson Center.
Okay.
You know, when I was running their sales and marketing program, and then now transition into owning the show myself.
Okay, so I'm interested about just how you got into TV. So, I mean, take me back as far as you want to go, and just tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got into outdoor TV. Because I have a TV background myself, not an outdoor TV, but I'm kind of sniffing around a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was fortunate enough to see the birth of outdoor television. What I mean by that is, you know, I've been in the industry for almost 30 years now. So take your time machine and go back 30 years, right? We had ESPN and you had TNN were the dominant television outdoor networks. And there's only
ESPN Outdoors on Saturday morning.
Correct.
I grew up on that.
Right. You had Advantage Adventures. You had Realtree Outdoors. You had Jackie Bushman's show. I think Mossy Oak may have had a show. Like there was just a few, and the ratings were outrageous, right? Because there was no social media.
Yeah.
What you had was your Monster Buck videos you used to get, or your Primetime Bucks videos you used to get at Walmart. And when those came out, or you watched.
For me, it was the Drury guys.
Right.
I was obsessed with those guys.
Exactly. And they've had a huge positive impact on our sport. So then the Outdoor Channel came into existence. So now, you had a network dedicated 24/7 to hunt fish. And then after that, you know, then you had the Sportsman's Channel, you know, and then obviously some of these other smaller networks popped up. So I got to see the pivot of marketing in our industry from print, and when I say marketing, content, going from print to television. Because everything used to be the Field and Stream magazine, Guns and Ammo, Bow Hunter magazine. That's it. You and I grew up, you know, looking at all that stuff. So fortunately, when that transition was occurring, I was working for Thompson Center Arms. And I said, hey, there's a lot of really talented people out there. You have Jim Shockey, Lee and Tiffany, Michael Waddell, the Drurys, Ralph and Vicky Sansarillo, you know, the team at Realtree. And I said, well, what would happen if we build a show around all of these, the best of the best? So we started off the series was called Game Trails when we originally started it, and then that transitioned to Pro Hunter Journal. And so then we kind of had the best of all of the personalities, and I was just hosting it as a wrap.
Okay.
I was doing the intros and outs, and then I would do a hunt or two a year. But I got to see that the connection people wanted, the viewer wanted to see, what are we doing? How are we doing it? Or could I be you? And then, of course, now with social media and digital, people can watch it live. Like I just literally got back from the range, raced in here to have our podcast, sighting in my muzzle loader, getting my scope mounted for my moose hunt.
Nice.
So that's going to roll out on my stories tomorrow. It's like people don't have to wait a year to see what's going on. And I really think it's that access to content, whether it's by celebrities, if you will, or the average guy, that really is the momentum to get new people into the sport today.
Yeah. So is it about doing everything? Like, you know, some people's like, oh, you know, outdoor TV's dying, or especially in the Western kind of space. You see guys like your Brian Calls and those guys tearing it up on YouTube, and but I've kind of been reevaluating you know, outdoor TV, and especially one thing for me is like the way big tech is now. Like they can just flat shut you down tomorrow. like
tomorrow.
on TV, you have a little bit of a buffer of that, and it's for other reasons. So, I mean, do you think it's still a big time contender in terms of how people ingest content and will
No
going
doubt.
forward?
Right. And we have the data support this. And obviously, my not a, so I also own a marketing and media company called Wildcom.
Yeah, I saw that.
And so we produce and market 10 television shows in our space. And so we work with 300 manufacturers, right? Whether it's a smaller one, maybe like a nose jammer or somebody of that nature, all the way up to a Loophole or a Hornady, right? Big companies. And I will tell you, the most valuable impression today is still television.
Hmm.
The reason that is, it's the most exclusive, right? You only have 12 commercials that air, period. Now, some of those are network commercials, right? They're running a Chevy ad or a Progressive ad. And then some of those are obviously ones that are endemic, that we place in there through our agreements with the network and our sponsors. Whereas you go into social media and YouTube, I mean, it's flick, second and a half.
Yeah.
So the quality of that, and then the diversity of that content, you don't know. Like if you were going to my social media, I mean, it could be, something from hunting, then it could be something from fitness, and something from nutrition,
Yeah.
right? Or something on self-help or development. So that's the algorithms dictate what I look at. Whereas television, people sit down as destination. Now, where TV is changing, and this is where we're evolving, is you do have people that are cord cutting or cord shaving, meaning people say, hey, I don't want a $200 cable bill. So now with what they call fast channels, through your Samsung television or Pluto or Zumo or Sling TV or Hulu, right? My show starting in October will be able to be viewed on 100 million connected devices for free.
Yeah.
So now it's still live streaming. It's not VOD. Like YouTube is VOD.
Still like linear TV kind of.
Right. It's still like linear TV. It's just, you do it,
Right.
watch with your cell phone, iPad, or if you have a Samsung TV on the wall, you just go to their app and you can watch it.
Like I said, I've been doing a little bit of sniffing around, and I haven't had cable since college, but I wanted to start watching Sportsman and Outdoor to kind of get a sense of what's going on, and so it's called like Fubo, I think.
Fubo, yep.
Yeah, and it's basically, I think it's like $70 or $80, and you do have to do an add-on to get the outdoor channels, but yeah, then you can watch just linear TV like anything else, and I've been watching your show, but then I also have you on Prime, and stuff like that too.
So I think technology now is going to balance out the linear service. So now, is there value to YouTube and social media? 100%. Absolutely. And the Brian Calls of the world have figured out how to dominate that niche.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, podcasts, which you're doing now, everybody loves to tune into. It seems like people want to be immersed in content every moment they're awake.
Yeah.
I think, and so in other words, if they get up, they're turning, at least that they're like my kids, right? They turn music on to take a shower.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Or to get ready in the morning. And then if they have a morning commute, they listen to a podcast. Then they get to work on their lunch breaks or in between, spells of quietness, they jump on their phone.
Yeah.
I can argue whether that's good or bad, but as content producers, our job is to provide a seamless access to our content. And that's kind of where things have evolved. And there's still millions and millions of people who watch your traditional linear TV because that's how they grew up. It's not confusing. I got 200 channels. I know channel 255 is outdoor channel.
Yeah.
And that's just what they do.
Yeah, that's cool, man. So how tell me a little bit about Wildcom. When did you start that business?
Back in 2005. So, I was blessed with the opportunity with a PE firm to purchase Thompson Center Arms. And so then I was elevated from VP of sales and marketing to their CEO.
Wow.
I ran Thompson Center Arms. And then we were approached by Smith & Wesson for potential acquisition.
Hmm.
And a couple years into that, we sold the company to Smith and Wesson, and then I became president of the long gun division. So prior to me, or prior to that acquisition, um, Smith and Wesson was a handgun company. So I helped to develop their long guns, whether it's their AR platforms, and then we had their hunting rifles and shotguns and what have you. And then a couple years into that, they were a publicly held company, and fantastic manufacturers, really, really great on technology. I was just like, I like the marketing and media world. I like,
Yeah.
I like building brands, and I like working with companies that I can help influence. So when my contract came up for renewal, I said, guys, I want to go create a marketing and media company, which I continued at the time to support them through marketing efforts, and then started Wildcom, and then talked to the Michael Waddells and the Lee and Tiffany's and the Donna Candy Kiskis and said, hey, I think we can make an argument where you guys need business managers. This is where it's going, and help me to make you more successful.
Yeah.
And that's was a birth of Wildcom. And then we also do a lot of other marketing services, whether it's social media, booth design, packaging, like all the traditional stuff.
Hmm.
So if a company comes to us and says, hey, that's great, we'd love to support Drop Zone with Hal Schaefer and Greg Zipadelli, but we really could use some logo work for us. Can you help us with a logo? Absolutely. And
Hmm.
it keeps me kind of in the bullpen of the industry. I love this industry. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. Because it's just a love and a passion for the outdoors, and trying to create this legacy and pass it on to the next generation.
Yeah, I'm the same way, man. Like, it's just like when it's something that you love and you just, it's like even if I wasn't working or if I wasn't trying to build something in this industry, I would still be obsessing and thinking about it. I'll like go to bed at night and like thinking about, okay, what tags am I going to apply for next year? Like it's just like I'm obsessed with it anyway. So to be able to kind of channel all that like obsession and try to like make it into a business is really cool. It can be a little bit dangerous because sometimes it's hard to turn off when it's like family time, um, which actually is a pretty good segue. Has it been, because I'm looking at I got like 4 big out of state hunts this fall, and it's gonna be like bang, and then home for a couple weeks, and then gone 2 weeks, and home for a couple weeks, and then gone 2 weeks, and I have a young family and stuff. Like, has it been challenging to balance the not stress, because it's at the end of the day it's fun and it's work we enjoy, but it is work and you do have to perform and you produce content. Has it been tough to balance that with family, or how have you been able to manage that successfully?
I mean, great question. So I've got 3 girls that are 20, 18, and 16 now. So obviously I've been doing this since they were born.
Right.
So I guess in one respect, they grew up knowing dad's got to travel to work,
Yeah.
right? Just like other executive travels or somebody in
Yeah.
the military. Um, I am happy to say I never ever missed a father-daughter dance.
Yeah.
So there were times that I literally slid in and was shaving in the men's room and putting on my little monkey suit to go dance with my 8-year-old girls at the time. But I tried to, when I'm home, I don't hunt.
Yeah.
I still work. I do Wildcom work, and obviously, I build content, go to the gun range, shoot my bow in the backyard, and fletch arrows down the basement. But like this weekend, I was at my daughter's hockey game in Stoneham, Mass. Columbus Day weekend, I was taking my daughter back to college. So I try to do things that are memorable and special, and then when I'm gone, I utilize technology to remind them I didn't forget about them.
Yeah.
So when I was in Alaska, obviously you don't have cell service, so I have a Garmin inReach.
Mm-hmm.
And every day, hey, thinking about you, how's school, what's going on. And because it is tough. They would go, I travel 170 days a year. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Trade shows, working on the farm, putting in food plots, managing habitat, and then filming the show.
Yeah.
There's big gaps of time that you don't get back. And it pulls at your heartstrings. It's not easy, but finding that balance of making it when you do come home, you're special. You have my time.
Yeah. Are you married?
Divorced.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been a little I think the kids, my kids are young. They kind of like, okay. And I've been traveling since my son was born as well. So I think the bigger challenge is kind of with with their mom,
Yeah.
but
Oh, yeah. It's tough. I mean, it goes 100 to 0, right?
yeah. Yeah. But
You
that's what
know,
I've been trying to do too is like, okay, yeah, I got to travel, but lots of men have to travel for work. Mine's just happens to be condensed into like a 3 or 4 month period.
right.
And then when I'm home, I work from home so I can pick up the kids from school. I can, go to their teacher meetings and, like you said, like be here when I'm here. Um, so, but and then back to, well, kind of along the same lines, have, coming from the East Coast, we have the added production costs of travel, just logistics, not only cost, but just time and headache of, always having to fly places or tack on 3 days for driving. Like, um, have obviously you found a way to make it financially viable coming from the East Coast and like, I guess, I mean, that was the heart of my question is like, can this be done from the East Coast if you're focusing mainly on Western hunts?
Yeah. The answer is yes, and it's a balance. And you're right. The logistics of travel. Just to give you an example, and I don't do many of these trips, but so I went to the Alaska Peninsula to hunt barren ground caribou, and I take two professional videographers slash photographers with me. Just my airtime call or my airline expense, just airline, $15,000 for three guys. It's just 3 days in, 3 days out. It's commercial into Anchorage. It's charter into Nelson Lagoon. Then it's private bush planes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Float planes or tundra planes to get me in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Right? I'm hunting public land to get me in the middle of nowhere, drop me off, and then pick me up in a week. And then arranging for gear and then extra luggage and camera stuff. So you're right. And it doesn't matter. I mean, my flight to New Mexico tomorrow is $900.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
why? A year ago that was 400.
Yeah.
So,
And a lot of these guys like Chris Denham or whatever, or like Nate Simmons can just jump in their truck and drive.
Right. So the guys in the Midwest, Iowa, Kansas, Oklahoma, they definitely logistically have an advantage over us East Coast boys. And so now, my main moose hunt, I drive. I don't have that expense. So I try to balance that out with, with areas that say, okay, I got an expense over here and this one's a little bit cheaper, and try to, spend the money is where it's most valuable. But to your point you made earlier, there's a lot of pressure on you to produce. Like, you spend this money, time away from the family,
Mm-hmm.
and you got it. I mean, I went on my antelope hunt this year, bow hunt in New Mexico, good unit in the area I had access to. I thought, oh, this is fantastic. Go out there, didn't kill anything, saw a lot,
Yeah.
nothing under 100 yards, and so you feel. I made a great television show. We had great social media, fantastic content for the sponsors, and for the viewers, the fans, but there's still a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah. Sure.
It's, because, and I will tell you, I didn't want to shoot them over a water hole. I've done that. Nothing against that. I wanted the personal challenge of spot and stalk.
Yeah.
So I also kind of created a bar that was really high for me to jump over.
That's not easy.
No. And with a cameraman,
Yeah.
right? That is tripod, big camera.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the way New Mexico works, they only give you a 5-day season.
Yeah. That's crazy. Same with like rifle elk and muzzleloader elk.
Right. That's it. You get 5 days. So I can't, there's not a go back. Like last year, I had a public land tag for mule deer in Nevada.
Nice.
Didn't kill with a bow. Right.
I think I watched that episode. Is one with the fire?
No, a different one. He's
Okay.
actually he just got finished being mounted. It was my
Oh, that
fourth,
huge, the third 200 in
yeah,
3 years or whatever.
fourth 200
That thing was a
that
beast.
that I've killed, all public land.
Yeah.
All anybody could have the tag I had, and but it took 4 trips, Hunter, to kill this animal. And but I had the ability to keep coming back, which was
Yeah.
nice. And it ended positively. But that's how obsessed we as hunters get. It's like a dog with a bone. I it became personal. I wanted to beat this deer,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
eventually,
that was an amazing deer. And then going back to, also, being from the East Coast as well, we don't have the advantage of, oh, I'm going to take a quick rip up there this weekend, camp, and do some scouting. Um, you know, and so that's another added, challenge, especially for me getting started out, and I have absolutely nothing wrong or nothing against guides and outfitters. I kind of I prefer to do it DIY if I
yep,
can, just because I know mentally when I have a guy guiding me, I sort of check out, even if I'm not trying to. Like, you kind of just lose that, like, all in, like, okay, I'm trying to figure this out, everything around me, like, how do I find this animal, how do you kind of go, or at least I kind of drop more into a mode of, like, all right, well, I'm just kind of following this guy.
sure.
And not that you have to do that, that's something you can work on, I think, too. But anyway, it's much tougher when you're trying to go in completely DIY on a piece of public ground you've never been on.
Right.
Do you, because of that, and because of kind of the, I don't want to say pressure, but, the need to produce, top quality content and some of these tags that are very expensive and limited time frames and stuff like that, do you, not rely on, do you use the help of guides and outfitters quite a bit, or do you not as much?
Combination of both. Like, with the Nevada, I had locals that were friends with, people out in the West. And they were already out scouting because they had tags.
Hmm.
So it was nice to have camp with them. We share some expenses of a camper. And then, hey, they have a tag. They're going their way. I'm going my, but they've already kind of said, okay, um, hey, over this ridge or over on Sawtooth Mountain or
Yeah.
wherever,
Just
I ran
narrowed
into
things
band
down a
bucks
little.
there and what have you. And then other cases like Alaska, because of the expense, even though it was public land, logistically, have a guide there. But you do make a good point. It is easy to become the passenger in the vehicle,
Yeah.
right? Where somebody says, "Hey, why don't you drive home?" I don't. What do you mean? I don't know where I'm at. Well, you were driving. I wasn't driving.
Right.
So I do try to stay very active, and I don't try to guide the guide if I have one,
Yeah.
but I'm always thinking to myself, what would I do? Like, would I make this move? Would I go in tighter? How am I going to get home? Right? Logistically, do we have
Yeah.
enough food? Is my kit right? Um, because then I've also got to think about 2 videographers.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's not about, you know, whether I kill the North American 29 or not doesn't, change who I am. If I shoot another 200 or I kill a 200-inch whitetail or a 380-inch bull, I really like to have the perfect footage. That
Yeah.
is like my goal. Like, if wait you see the footage from this caribou hunt.
I can't
It
wait. That
is
was a killer bull.
spectacular. Just the drama building up and the runoff, and then they stop. And the pivot of the animal as I shot, which is in slow motion. But if you played it in real time, I had to execute the shot in milliseconds
Hmm.
and time that with my videographer and make sure the lighting and the pre-roll. I walk away from that going, I don't care how much you scored. People say, how big was your bull? I don't know. You going to see the footage?
Yeah.
Like, that to
Yeah.
me is what I really try to get great wildlife footage, because that's
Yeah.
so tough to do as a content creator. And so that's my personal challenge now. It's not whether, so I can walk away from my antelope hunt feeling, tail tucked between my legs, I didn't kill. But the flip side is, man, I got some really cool content and filmed 3 Boone and Crockett bucks.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Do you do some of your own editing work, or do you work with editors mainly?
So I have editors that work with me, and then I have some contracted.
Okay.
So I work with them intimately. Do I click the buttons? No.
Kind of over the
I
shoulder
help write.
producer.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. That's their forte. And
Yeah.
and I've learned, just in business and life, you need a team.
Absolutely.
I have some great content creators. I've got a fantastic lady who handles social media and the content creation and all of the aspects of kind of the live environment, and then she helps write the scripts and massage the shows. So having this group of 6 and 8 people is really what it takes to do something great.
Yeah.
Now I take a Brian Call, for example, and who, as you mentioned, I shot with Attack, and look at him going, wow, he's he can create the content, be in front of the camera, but then he'll pop back and also edit. Like, that's
Yeah.
a real talent.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So, well, it's good to hear you say that. I mean, I knew obviously it can be profitable because you wouldn't see people doing these TV shows if it wasn't possible to be profitable. But it's just like reaffirming to hear you say, like, yeah, you live on the East Coast, you do this, you carry 2 camera guys with you, you have some help with the editing, and you're obviously, I mean, it's
Right.
successful.
It is, but it's like anything. It's a passion you do, and then you have to find ways to monetize it,
Sure.
whether it's through a collection of podcasts, personal appearances. It's everything. So
Sure.
there's not just, hey, all I do is a television show and I can feed my family.
Right.
Right. If I didn't have Wildcom, it wouldn't all balance out.
Yeah.
And you look at Don and Candy Kiski, that they're also farmers.
Yeah.
So they have their television show, which dovetails perfectly, right? They're getting their crops out of the field, and then they pivot to hunting.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they pivot out of hunting, they're shed hunting, and then it's time to plant again.
Mm-hmm.
So they've kind of balanced that out. Take Jeff and David Lindsay is, they build homes. Now they build a team, so when it comes hunting season, right, they can kind of manage people and then film their television show and YouTube series. But then, when they're not filming, they're back on the job sites.
For
So I
sure.
think everybody has to have multiple avenues of revenue to
Yeah.
make it work.
Yeah. No, that's good. All right. I'm trying to see where I wanted to go from here. How do you get a polar bear tag?
The getting the tag is not the tough part.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the polar bear population is as good as it's ever been.
Really? So it's not like this drama that all the antis are like, oh, polar
No,
bears are all dying.
in fact, there's the Inuits or the indigenous people. I mean, they have to contend with these polar bears all the time, and sometimes they're coming into their camps, and
Mm.
they have to harvest animals just from safety standpoint. But getting the tag is not tough because the the government, Obama, shut off the importation of polar bear hides in the United States.
Hmm.
So what's happened is it gutted the hunting industry from the U.S. perspective. So you can go harvest the animal, right? A good friend of mine that he's been on my show and we managed ground together, Ernie Santana, just killed a 10'2" polar bear this year with his bow. I think I want to say it's 7 all-time in the world.
Wow.
So
You can't bring the hide home.
can't bring it home.
That's crazy.
So really, the U.S., in which kind of drives me crazy a little bit, the U.S.
Even
government
is that
cannot.
even if you kill it in Alaska? Do they
I don't
do they
think
even have polar bears in Alaska?
I don't think they have a huntable
Okay.
population. Yeah. So the U.S. government is telling Canada what they can and can't do. The Canadian government says, hey, we have measures and we're tracking these. Here's X number of tags and a lot of them don't get filled.
Mm-hmm.
But the government says as well, we know better than you do, so
Mm.
we're not going to allow the importation.
Yeah.
And so unfortunately, people can't bring those hides back. So the answer is yes, you can find some really good opportunities, but you're not going to be able to enjoy the trophy in your room.
That's tough, man.
Yeah.
Um, Well, so tell me about your caribou hunt, because it was a caribou hunt that changed my life. I ate tag soup on it, but it still changed my life. It was my first ever like Western DIY hunt. We literally did a walk-in caribou hunt in East Central Alaska. Um, we had to reshift and go to a new spot and almost killed, but we had a couple small bulls. We weren't sure if they were bulls or cows. So we didn't pull the trigger. But anyway, the trip just changed my life and kind of set me on this new course. And so anyway, just give you a little backstory on myself. But tell me about your caribou trip, man.
So I love caribou hunting, and it's interesting to see how it's changed. So even back before I started to do TV, like one of the hunts I always wanted to do growing up was to go see the caribou migration. So buddy and I, we went to Quebec, Labrador, drove to Montreal, flew out of, I mean, so now you're going back 30 years ago, right? And literally we saw the migration of the Quebec Labrador herd,
That's
which
cool.
now is virtually unhuntable because they've shut down so many areas and restricted tags, and they've had a big die off. I don't know that they really know why, whether it's change of habitat or disease or what have you. So I kind of saw the heyday of caribou, and then I really got into hunting mountain caribou for a lot of years. And actually, I got to attribute that to Jim Shockey. He got me into that because now you're hunting. It's like you're sheep hunting for a 500-pound animal with
Yeah.
400
That's
inches
cool.
on his head. So I got into that, and then I'm like, well, if I'm doing this, and I go over to Newfoundland, I kill the woodland. So, well, I haven't done
So
the bare ground,
really
and
quick to jump in. So for the slam, you have to get the different subspecies of caribou. It's not just a caribou.
it's just not right. So here you have Quebec Labrador, mountain, woodland, barren ground, which is what I just killed, and then central barren ground,
Okay.
which
So which subspecies is the 40-mile herd? Do you know?
I don't know. I would
Okay.
assume barren ground.
Okay.
Barren ground, which is what I just killed.
Nice.
So it's those collection of locations you go, and even though they're all caribou,
Mm-hmm.
they're dramatically different.
Yeah.
And in this hunt was more about getting access to the Alaska Peninsula, right? So off the southwest corner, you have this chain of islands that
Yeah.
go out. So they call it the
The
Aleutian
Aleutian chain. Yeah.
or Aleutian Islands. And so it's getting there. Now, once you get there, it's a non-migratory herd. Now, they
Okay.
move around the
Sure.
chain based off of feed and weather and all that. But if you can locate where they are, you can find an animal. Now, to find a special animal takes a lot of walking and a
Yeah.
lot of glassing in the tundra, stepping up, stepping down, squish, water up to your
Yeah.
knee. So then it becomes more like, how do I get them? And am I willing to be cold, wet, and miserable?
Mm-hmm.
It rains all day long. You live in your rain gear, period.
Sure.
And then you just pray it's windy because
The bugs.
the bugs out there, Hunter,
Oh
horrible.
yeah. Yeah.
Like carry you away, face net, buzzing around, horrible.
Yeah.
Which I say that not to scare people away, just to be prepared. Because
Oh
when
yeah.
you come back, you're pretty proud of what you accomplished.
Yeah. No, for sure. Is it so ever since I did that first walk-in trip, I've been looking at, trying to like find an air transport and stuff like that, to get a little bit deeper in.
Mhm.
The last couple years it's gotten insane. I think the price has gone up like 100% from when I first started looking. And not only that, it's like how far out in advance do you have to book? Like, can you even find someone that'll book you? Is it, and I'm talking about the 40-mile herd mainly here. Is it just as challenging to get air transport for that hunt you did, or is it a little easier? Or
Mine's more challenging just because there's
wow,
less people servicing the Aleutian chain of islands.
okay. So
So
how far in advance did you have to book that?
I booked it a year out,
That's not too bad.
which isn't horrible.
No.
Because most times if you do a hunt outside your backyard, right? Even a hunt in Utah, I'm booking that a year out.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, so I say logistics. It's gotten easier, obviously, because of the internet and social media to find people or find services that'll get you places.
Yeah.
And Alaska has become very well developed on creating infrastructure in the state to get people, because they see hunters bring a lot of money in. Where now, if you need to rent tents or rent rafts or
Bear fences,
logistics to getting places, like there's, I don't want to sound like I'm dating myself. You go back 20 years ago, there was no social media.
yeah,
Like, who do I call? Where do I find them? Right? Google wasn't what it is today, or search engines. Today, we have it pretty good as hunters. We can find somebody to get us where we want to go. And I'd say if you just prepare a year out, you can get anywhere you want to go, and then you just hope that times up with the migration or animal movement or the right weather patterns.
Yeah, interesting, man. So how did that hunt go down? You want to tell me how it went down, or is it a
Yeah,
surprise?
no, it was fantastic. So we got delayed getting so we got into base camp relative. So it took 2 days to get to base camp, and then we got weathered in for a day because of wind.
Mm,
As you know, in Alaska, you can't fly and hunt on the same day.
right.
Great rule, excellent rule.
Except for blacktail.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. We'll have to read up on that. So we knew we were hoping to get in like late, so I didn't lose a day. So the next day we could fly. We got in at noon. So then it just became a scouting expedition.
Yeah.
Which is basically go try to find animals.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy because there's a lot of roles and terrain features, even though you look at something and it looks flat.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks easy to walk on. You look over there and, that's only a couple miles away. I can get over there pretty fast.
Yeah. On tundra, it's different.
Listen, 1 mile an hour is what I tell people to expect.
Yeah.
In the tundra with a 30-pound pack on, right? With if most of the times you're wearing, knee boots or hip boots or wading pants or something. So plan on, if that animal's 2 miles away, you're going to spend 2 hours one way. So optics are key. Having a good spotting scope, having good binoculars, and really making sure then. But a lot of times you'll be glassing, and all of a sudden they'll just come up over a rise. You see them. You're watching. Okay, let's get our gear ready. Okay, one more time, look in the glass, make sure it's out. Like, where'd he go?
Yeah.
And it's not that they go miles away, but these little rolls are just enough to hide them. So, we spent 3 days playing that game of kind of like whack-a-mole. There they are, where they go. There they are, where they go. And so we had a lot of dead end walks.
Yeah.
Cool experiences. We saw 4 or 5 brown bears, 1 2-year-old. I call it a cub. It's not a cub. It's a 2-year-old that must have been kicked off its mother. Like, we came over this little rise and he was 40 yards away.
Oof.
Feeding on blueberries.
Yeah.
So then we kind of hunkered down, enjoyed the scenery, filmed him. So it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's wearing, sleeping on the ground.
Yeah.
And then, so you're not really catching up on the rest that you think you need. You're eating your peak refuels, right? So you're not really getting the quality of calories that you need. But all of that makes you a man because you realize you don't need the comforts at home to be an outdoorsman.
Yep. Yeah, man, it's so good. I love Alaska. There's just nothing quite like Alaska.
No. And it's one of our states, right? At the end of the day, it's we're in the United States. The people are us, right? Nothing against Canada or Mexico or other countries, but there's a brotherhood up there because they're like, oh, you're from the lower 48, and they share the same outdoor. I mean, everybody's into the outdoors in Alaska. Everybody.
Yeah, for sure. Do you usually plan? How long do you usually plan hunts like that?
I normally try to go 2 years out.
No, I mean like, how much time do you plan for the hunt to be? Like 7 days, 10 days, 2 weeks?
Yeah, 2 weeks with logistic, knowing I'm gonna lose 6 days, 3 in, 3 out.
Right.
And then I try to plan a week for the hunt. So
okay,
not quite 2 weeks door to door.
Yeah,
but I will tell you when you come home, and of course for us being on the East Coast, it's a 4-hour time difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when you come home, like you're screwed up on the time.
Yeah.
It's like you try to go to bed at 10 o'clock at night, you can't go to bed, and it's now 3 a.m. before you fall asleep. And then the sun's up in another 2 hours. And so it takes a day or two to reset the biological
For
clock
sure.
back.
For sure, man. Well, man, this has been really interesting. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. So this has been great, but where can folks find you, find the show if they want to check out more?
Yeah, obviously all the social media handles, Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. So Huntmasters TV on Instagram is the easiest, and then I
Cool.
have a website which is huntmasters.com, and then we air 5 days a week. So you can go on outdoorchannel.com and look at the airtime. Sundays at 8:30 is the primary air.
Cool.
And like I said, come October, we're going to be launching on the FAST channel, so people will have access to content 24/7. Going forward. So we're excited about that. But
Yeah.
good luck yourself with the tags that you have this
Yeah,
year.
man.
You're excited to lace up your boots and head back
Oh, yeah.
out in the field.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it. All right, man. Well, thanks again for your time. I appreciate it.
Take care. Have a good one. Good luck.